What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome to the post-game grades for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Chicago Bears in the wild card round. Unbelievable, man. I have not seen a finish like that in a long-ass time. That game took a couple years off my life, but hey, we did it. We are still in the tournament. We're going to the next round, and I don't know. I don't even know what to talk about right now. That was ridiculous. I guess first we should say, Bears fans, hearts go out to you. Everyone knows that, this game aside, I was going to be very as critical as I can be of the Bears. But any Bear fans that are watching this, you probably watched me talk about the Bears all season long. No, I've been pulling for the Bears, so the Bears are going to be good last year. I've been on that hype train, and you guys will bounce back. That's a crushing loss. That loss sucks. But, it's the kind of loss that it's going to be interesting to see how they respond. They're either going to get better, they got to motivate that, and they're going to come back even scarier next season. Or it can be something that ripples throughout the organization. And, luckily enough, it was the kicker. It wasn't like Trubisky had a costly interception. You can get a new kicker. You can get anyone off the street. But, it's one of those ones. You see that with the Bears. I don't necessarily can say from this game that the Bears deserved to win that game. Both these teams did not play particularly well. But you definitely could say with how the Bears were able to execute that last drive, that's what makes me feel bad for them. Because, Mitchell Trubisky made the best throw of his career. Picking on Avonte Maddox, who had a pretty good game, but was super aggressive, bit on a couple things, had a thirst for the ball after that interception that he had that was, wasn't an interception, but it looked incredible, man. Maddox has a bright future ahead of him, but he is a rookie. He was super aggressive and got beat a couple times there by Allen Robinson, who, let's be honest. I think ultimately for the Bears fans, Allen Robinson, for the kind of big money they gave him in free agency, kind of underwhelmed this season. But, man, Philly's moving on. That was a really, really good game. Nick Foles had some bad interceptions like we talked about in the preview, like they were going to happen. One more than what I thought. That interception they threw in the end zone was not good at all. It was triple covered on Nelson Aguilar. Not at any point during that route was he open. So, can't have that. You can't have that happen against New Orleans. But maybe this is the playoff momentum that the Eagles need to get to really go in and make that game competitive against New Orleans. But we'll finish the video talking about next Sunday's game. But let's do some grades for this one. Nick Foles went 25 of 40, 266, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He played really, really good in the second half, but in the first half, in a game that you knew was going to be really, really close, that interception in the end zone where we were well in field goal range, that was kind of killer. And I'm going to hold that against. I'm going to give Nick Foles C+. That touchdown on 4th down to Golden Tate. Those are the kind of plays that when people talk about, should Carson Wentz be the quarterback? Should it be Nick Foles? In all honesty, in those plays, I feel a lot more confident in the clutch, absolute clutch, winner go home scenarios with Nick Foles because that is his value. Carson Wentz is going to be better 90% of the game more than Nick Foles is. But in that clutch scenario, because Carson Wentz hasn't been proven and tested in those scenarios, give me Nick Foles, that pass to Golden Tate. The fact that we got that win, I think a lot of people that have been overcritical of Golden Tate, I would say I'm on the lesser side of that. But I think essentially getting us, you can view it as getting us a playoff win for that 3rd round pick that eventually will probably get a 4th round pick back in terms of a comp. It's worth it, man. That one play from Golden Tate is worth the 3rd round pick that we made the trade with the Detroit Lions for. But yeah, Nick Foles get a C+. The run game was not working at all, which, I highlighted. That was pretty much my main game-breaking issue that I saw the Eagles having coming in this game, and that was pretty much what we saw. Darren Sproles, 13 carries, 21 yards. Smallwood had 8 for 20. A couple hard runs. Josh Adams had 1 touch. A couple very frustrating runs there on the final drive, especially when the red zone. We eventually got in. We actually got 6 points from the Golden Tate touchdown, but the first 2 runs of Darren Sproles, very, very frustrating, very bad, and really peculiar play calling. So the running backs are getting D+, but ultimately, you're going up against the Bears that are just filthy in the front 7. Kind of was expected. Alshon is returned back to the, I don't know what the Shy City. I don't know. 6 catches, 82 yards. Zach Ertz had 5 catches, 52. Golden Tate, 5 catches, 46 yards and a touchdown. Aguilar had a couple big conversions. Dallas Goedert, 2 catches, 20 yards and a touchdown. Receivers were good, man. There was no real bad drops. A lot of contested catches going up against a very good secondary. Eddie Jackson played, I think, a couple snaps, but the fact that he wasn't out there a whole lot definitely benefited the Philadelphia Eagles, but they still had Kyle Fuller, tied for first in the league in 7 interceptions. Even Bush, I remember you from the U. He's not that bad. Prince Amukamara had a really costly PI that was clearly a PI. Amos had a couple, had a good play. I think he was the guy that picked off Nick Foles in the end zone, but he also had a pretty brutal, to be completely honest with you, targeting call. That's why I respect Bears fans, though, because that was some stadiums, some fan bases, they'd just be booing that, their guy got the targeting call. You could hear a couple guys booing. For the most part, Bears fans were like, yeah, that was, you can tell from the sound of the stadium that, that you kind of try to jack up Zach Ertz there a little bit. So, full respect. I like the Bears fan base. Yeah, receivers, they did their job. Receivers are going to get a B+ on the day. There's no big, huge wow plays, I don't think, but they did really, really well. Special teams were fine. No real grade there. Just give them B. Defensively, now this is where pluses and minuses. Obviously, Avonte Maddox had very up and down game. We had some, they did full kudos to the Chicago Bears offensive line, double team and Fudger Cox. They did a pretty good job there. Jernigan had a sack. We got a sack from Michael Bennett, who also had a very dumb on third down, getting into it with Kyle Long, and extends the drive for the Chicago. That's one of those things, man. The Bears played so bad in the first half. I'm pretty sure the 2 third downs that they eventually converted into drives to get the 2 field goals, to get them their points, their 6 points. Those drives were done, and Philly did something stupid on third down to continue those drives. So that's another thing that compounds to the fact that I don't view this as, the Bears should have won the game. The Bears deserved to win that game. They weren't that great. They weren't any better than the Eagles. But defensively, man, again, the play calling from Jim Schwartz, the fact that the Bears were able to get into field goal range at the very end of the game, every Philadelphia Eagle fan knew that was coming. When Philly didn't get that 2-point conversion, which in my opinion, it was close, but when they did the above view, it looked to me like that ball was more, the tip of that ball was more over than it was not over, but because that was so big. That's the reason why. It's just a 2-point conversion. Everyone's so ecstatic from the Golden Tate. But the real fans, the fans that are, hyper critical of the Eagles, knew that 2-point conversion was massive because Jim Schwartz's defense was going to give up the yards for them to have a field goal attempt. I don't know if it was going to be a long one. Didn't know it was going to be as short as what it was, but you knew that field goal attempt was going to be coming because Jim Schwartz is a pussy. Jim Schwartz does not dial the blitz. Somewhere, obviously 6 feet under, God rest his soul, late Jim Johnson is rolling over his grave, seeing this Philadelphia Eagle team not blitz. You got to do it. And then that's what they did. After they got into range, Philly started to blitz, and that held them from getting even more yards. So Philly got a lot of success when it was far too late on that last drive by dialing up the blitz. It needs to happen sooner. That's why I keep saying Jim's gone. Jim Schwartz, he's out of contract, and nothing that I'm seeing right now is saying give him a new extension. Again, if we exhaust all our options, Todd Bowles goes somewhere else. There's no other DCs on the market. There's probably worse hires than Jim Schwartz. But the fact that it's worn thin. You can't have this passive play calling be acceptable anymore. It's costing us. It's putting this teams in too bad of predicaments time and time again. It happened in Tennessee, happened in the collapse against the Panthers, happened a couple times in overtime against the Dallas Cowboys in a game that we shouldn't have lost ever in that second one where all the penalties were there. So overall, defense will get a C+. There was a lot of good. There was a lot of bad. And we got the win, man. All said and done, we got the win against a very good Chicago Bears team. And I kind of made this tweet. This is honestly what I feel about it. I feel like I'm not religious. I don't believe in all these mythical, most likely made up things. That's my opinion. If you disagree and you think otherwise, that's cool, man. That's totally cool. But how I feel about it is things like that. But sometimes karma, I feel like it exists. The Philadelphia Eagles got absolutely, positively robbed by the refs in that second game against Dallas. Whatever karma, if it does exist, that was that missed field goal from Cody Parkey. That's the only way I can explain it. The only, what did Philly do to deserve to get that karma to go their way? All I got to think about is how those refs took that win away from the Philadelphia Eagles against the Dallas Cowboys. And, if things went the other way, Philly got that, means Philly would have to play Seattle in Philly. And, I'll tell you right now, I for whatever reason, I'd much rather like the way that things have ended up turning out. I'd rather Philly have to play Chicago to get to the next round than they would have if they won the division and had to play Seattle. So, maybe it all worked out well. And, both Philly and Dallas are moving on. My buddy that I watched the game at said that is going to be the most epic scenario for him as a neutral is for a Philly-Dallas NFC Championship game. I don't know how that'd be awesome. But to do that, we have to get by the New Orleans Saints, a team that absolutely kicked the living shit out of us. mid-season. I mean, Philly is a different team. We're a much better team than what we were there. Our secondary actually has some chemistry. I mean, in that game against New Orleans, you're going up against the best offense, and even me, the most diehard of the diehard Eagle fans, couldn't tell you who was playing in the secondary, trying to stop Michael Thomas and Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara. So we actually have some cohesion. Maddox has had some ups and downs, but he's playing a lot better. Rasul Douglas is playing very, very well. Malcolm Jenkins is on another level this season. So while I'm not going to come right now, obviously wait till the preview video and say, oh, you know what, Philly got this momentum. They got that Nick Foles mystique. They are going to go in New Orleans and beat the Saints. The Saints are and have always been a terrible mismatch for the Philadelphia Eagles defense, especially with how Jim Schwartz wants to call his plays, because you gotta bring that pressure. You gotta blitz Drew Brees. You can't sit back there with a bunch of bodies, a bunch of guys that, yes, they're playing better, but the talent is just not there yet, and expect them to hold up against the Saints. You have to bring it to the Saints, and Jim Schwartz just doesn't do that. But, you know, we have Nick Foles. And anytime you have Nick Foles, after seeing what he did last year in the playoffs and seeing what he's done down the stretch since he took over for Carson Wentz, you can't ever count the Philadelphia Eagles out. And even if you're a troll, if you're a Cowboy fan, if you're a Giant fan, a Redskin fan, or a Saints fan, or a Vikings fan, Viking fans are pretty salty. Even you, down to your core, you could say the Saints are going to win. I can tell you right now, Saints probably going to win that game. They're the favorites. They deserve to be the favorites. But you can't admit that there's no way Philly wins this game, not with Nick Foles under center. So I'm very excited for this matchup. We're already playing with house money for all the injuries that Philly had. There's no team. You know, the Chargers are an easy number 2, but there's no team that made these playoffs that had more injuries to deal with than this Philadelphia Eagles. We weren't supposed to make the playoffs. No team can suffer the amount of injuries Philly has the last 2 years, and let alone win the Super Bowl, but make the playoffs and go on a run back-to-back years. We're not supposed to be here. The fact that we're able to find a way to win, find a way to cash in those karma points at the right time, it's exciting. So we got one more game, man. We got New Orleans in the Dome. Just need that big Nick energy, baby. So Eagle fans in the comments, let me know what you feel about this game. Are you hype? Bears fans, again, I feel for you. That's a not a fun way to lose. And I've always been a Bears fan since we beat you guys last year. I said I like what they're doing. They're going to be good. I think you guys are going to turn around. You guys are going to be good again next year. I think you guys are getting ready to be the top dogs in the AFC North for the next couple seasons. And I think this is going to be a rivalry. This is going to be a rivalry going down the stretch. You got Nagy, you got Doug Pearson, you got that connection, and obviously this loss. It's the start of something that's going to be very, very competitive down the stretch. So I look forward for more games, and better luck next year. So thank you guys for watching. Fly, Eagles, fly. Subscribe if you're new, all that good shit. And I'll catch you guys back here later in the week for a full preview for the Eagles and Saints. Later.